Hi friends, welcome to Cyber Pathshala. Today's topic is OOPS principles in Java. So in today's topic, we are going to discuss about the basic understanding of OOPS principles in Java and the concepts like what is OOPS, object, class, abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism, as well as train your brain session and Q&A session. Let us start with OOPS. OOPS means object oriented principles. So we all know that Java is an object oriented programming language. So every object oriented programming language should follow some set of principles. So just like Java is also an object oriented programming language, it should also follow the same set of principles. Let us see what are all the different object oriented principles we have. So let us start with object. So in real world we can say that object is a real world entity. So we can take an examples like table, chair, TV, cycle, whatever it, right? So these are all called as objects in the real world. So whereas coming to Java, so can we represent all these objects in Java? Yes, we can do that. So we can represent anything in the form of an object in the Java. So also in technical terms we can say that object is a nothing but an instance of a class. So we'll discuss what is class in our next concept. So just for now you just remember that. So object is an instance for a class, and every object has some properties and behaviors. So let us see what is a property and what is a behavior. So before that, let us discuss an example here. So if you consider dog as an object, right? So it has some properties. So properties means the characteristics of that object. So it has some properties like color. So what is the color of a dog, and what is the name of that dog, and what is that breed, legs, eyes, and all these are considered as a properties. Means it means that these are the characteristics of a object. And we also have some behaviors like it can bark, and it can eat, it can run, it can jump. So these are all the behaviors, means nothing but these are the functionalities of a dog. So what a dog can do, it can bark, it can eat, it can run, and it can jump. So these are the functionalities of a dog. So I'm repeating the same thing again. So the characteristics of a dog, like it has legs, it has eyes, it has ears, and what is the color of the dog, and what is the name of the dog. So these are all the properties, or these are all the characteristics of a dog. And the functionalities are the, or we can say that what it can do, it can bark, it can eat, it can run, it can jump. So these are all the behaviors of a object. Now let us see what is a class. Class is a type of an entity or an object. So while discussing an object, so we discussed that an object is referred to a particular entity. So let us take the same example like a dog, right? So if you are referring to a particular dog, maybe let's say an example like a black colored dog. So the the dog color here is a black color. So and it is referring to a particular object or a particular dog. So so every dog may or may not have the same color, right? So if you consider the a particular dog as an object, all the category of those dogs is coming under as class. I mean to say that, so if you are pointing to a particular dog, so that will be referred as an object. But if you are considering the whole category of dogs or the whole class of dogs, so those are called as class. So here in this example, a particular dog is referred to an object, and the category of dogs is called as class. So and in the technical terms we can also say that class is nothing but a blueprint for an object. So what do you have in the blueprint generally if you buy an electronic item? So in the blueprint it will say that what are the properties of this particular electronic item, and what are the functionalities that it can do. So these are all we will be having under the blueprint, right? So in the same way, so if you are referring to a particular class, it will tell you that, so if you create an object for this class, so what are all the properties that object may have, and what are all the behaviors that an object can function or it can execute. So those will be defined in the class. Now let us clearly understand what is a class and what is an object. So if you see here, so this is a dog category. So it is not referring to any particular dog or any particular object. So these are the characteristics of a dog. So here we defined a category called dog, and every dog will have a breed. So it may be referring to some breed. So and every dog has some color, and every dog has some age, and every dog has some gender, and every dog might have some owner, right? So these are the common characteristics of a dog, and it is not referring to any particular dog. So these are the common characteristics. And also there are some common behaviors of a dog. So every dog will eat, right? And every dog will sleep, and every dog will sit, and every dog will run, and every dog will bark. So these are the some of the behaviors of a dog. So these are the common characteristics and common behaviors of a dog category. So here we call this dog category as a class, and it is not referring to any particular dog, because here we didn't specify the color or a breed or anything for a particular dog. So this considered as a class. Okay. So now coming to this one, right? So these are referred to a particular objects, and these are referred to a particular dog. Means, so here we are directly pointing to a particular dog. So now we consider this one as a an object, because if you consider this white color dog, right? So this breed is American Eskimo. So this is a particular dog we are referring to, and the color of this dog is white, and the age of this dog is 6 years, and the gender of this dog is female, and this owner of this dog is some Krish. So like the same way you can see the other three different dogs here. One is the white color one, and then the French breed, and the third one is brown color Borbal. So like this. So we have different dogs here. So and each dog is referring to a particular object. So on the left side, that what you see here. So this is a class. This will have a common characteristics and a common behaviors of a dog. And so whereas when you come to here, so these are the particular individual objects or the individual entities, or it is referring to a particular dog. So these are called as objects. So hopefully you are clear with what is the biggest difference between class and an object. So object will always point to a particular entity. Class will always point to the category or the common characteristics of a class or a category. Abstraction. So the word abstract means incomplete. So here in the OOPS principles, abstraction means, so we don't provide the complete information to the outer world. So then what do we provide? So we provide only the essential or the required features to the outer world, and we don't provide any background details or unnecessary details to the outer world, and this is called as abstraction. And in Java we achieve this abstraction using the abstract classes and the interfaces. Now let me give you a simple example on abstraction. So let's say you have a machine which produces some golden coins. So, and if you want to give this machine to one of your friend, so you can provide him that machine, and you can say him how he can produce the gold coins. But will you provide what is the internal mechanism that you have used to produce those golden coins? No, right? So what happens if you provide that? And if you provide that, there are multiple problems with that. So one is that he also can create a new machine with the same methodology or the same mechanism that what you have used for producing the golden coins. So and there will be no identity for your machine. So this is the first problem. And also the second problem is, if he wanted to corrupt something on the internal mechanism on the machine that what you have, so he can corrupt that and he can interrupt that to not to produce the golden coins. There are multiple problems with that. So that is the reason we don't provide the complete information or the unnecessary details to the rest of the world. So we just provide the required details or the necessary details to the outer world. So in this case we just provide him how he can produce a golden coins, but we don't provide him in how it is going to produce, what is the internal mechanism that it is going to use to produce these golden coins. So we don't provide all this unnecessary information to the rest of the world. So in the next diagram I'm going to explain so what is an abstraction and what is a class and how we differentiate using a simple example also. Encapsulation. So encapsulation is nothing but wrapping up of data members and member methods into a single unit is called as encapsulation. So here that single unit is nothing but a class, and the data members are nothing but the properties inside a class, and the behaviors are nothing but the methods inside a class. Let me give you one more example on encapsulation. So we all must have used definitely capsules in our life, right? So what a capsule holds? So usually it holds some medicine, right? So will it hold a single medicine? No, right? It will have a multiple medicine or a different medicines inside that, right? But what we are doing, so they are basically wrapping all these medicines into a single unit and they are giving that capsule to us, right? In the same way, so if you want to provide your data members or a member methods to the rest of the world, how do you provide them? So there is no way, right? So what we do is we basically put both these data members and member methods into a single unit, and which we call it as a class, and we provide this class to the rest of the world, and the rest of the world can access these data members or member methods by creating the instances for these classes. If you see here in this example of abstraction, I have a class called animal. So in that I have two methods, animal sound and sleep method. So I provided an implementation for sleep method, and I provided this uh, basically a print statement, but I don't want to provide the rest of the world how an animal sound. So I don't want to provide an implementation for it, but I just provided a basic prototype how basically uh, what an animal can do. It can sound, right? So basically I just provided a prototype of method animal sound. So, and it is a common characteristic. So I didn't provide an implementation for it. If you don't want to provide any implementation for any method, so you can just declare that method as an abstract by using the abstract keyword. So just like this, public abstract void animal sound. So I didn't provide any implementation for it. So basically I want to hide the implementation for it. So I just declared that as an abstract. So once you declare any method inside a class as an abstract, obviously your class also will become abstract class, means which is an incomplete class because we didn't provide the implementation for the animal sound. So whoever wants to make use of this animal class, so what they can do, so basically they can extend that animal class into them, and then they can provide their own implementation. So this is the implementation. It is specific to the class pig, but it is not specific to the class animal. So what this guy has done is he basically inherited this animal sound method inside that pig class, and he provided his own implementation. So this is how we can implement abstraction in Java. So we can also implement abstraction using interfaces also. So we'll discuss that in the later classes. So so this is example for abstraction. Now let us look at the example for encapsulation. So if you see here, this is my class person. So here I have a data member which is a string name. So this is my data member, or I can say that the property of this class. And I provided two methods for that. So one is for getting the name, what is the name inside that class, or what is the name assigned to that variable name. So I provided a getter method through which I can get the name inside the class, and there is also a setter method that I have provided to set the value to the name variable. So I provided two methods to the name variable, and if you see here, both my variable and my methods both are there in the same class called person. So this is what we call it as encapsulation. So here in this encapsulation we capsuled both variables as well as methods into the same single unit. That single unit we call it as a class, and the name of that class is person. So this is how we implement the encapsulation in Java. Inheritance. The process of extending an existing class is called as inheritance. So let me ask you, why do you want to extend an existing class? So there are multiple reasons for it. So the first and the primary reason is, so if you want to leverage the existing code, or if you want to leverage the existing functionality which is already written or which is already available, so if you want to make use of that, you can do that using this inheritance concept. So this is the primary and the first reason for inheritance concept. And the second reason is, if you're not happy with the existing implementation, or if you're not happy with the existing code which is already available in the existing classes, if you want to re-implement them or if you want to redefine them in your new classes, that you can do with this inheritance concept. So then how we can implement this inheritance in Java? We can implement this inheritance using the extends keyword. So this is the syntax for that. So if you see here, class B extends A. So which means the properties and the behaviors inside the class A will get inherited into the class B. So if you remember in the last slide, we discussed on the abstraction and encapsulation, right? So let me take you there. So in this example, so I have a class called animal. So in that I have two methods, animal sound and sleep. And I have a class called pig, so which is extending the animal class inside that. So basically I use this syntax class pig extends animal, and I provided the implementation only for animal sound. And if you see here, I don't have a sleep method inside my pig class, right? So now I have defined one more main class. So inside that I created an object. So normally we can create an object using this new keyword. So if you see here, I created an instance or an object for pig class using a new pig. So this is a constructor I called. So I created an instance for this pig class, and I called two methods here, myPig.animalSound and myPig.sleep, right? So if you see here in the as I already mentioned, I didn't define the sleep method inside my pig class, but still I was able to call this because this pig, this sleep method is this sleep method is inherited into the pig class. And also if you have any other data members, those also will get inherited into this pig class. So this is what an inheritance is. So let me take you back. So as I mentioned, so if the class B extending A, so here A and B are two different classes, and A is called as parent or superclass and B is called as child or subclass. So let me take you back to the previous example again to just to discuss what is a parent and what is a child class. So if you see here, my class animal, which is a parent class, and my class pig, so which is a child class, and this child class is extending animal. So here the pig is child class or subclass, and animal is parent class or superclass. Okay. So and we have different types of inheritances based on in what level they got inherited, and what are the different ways of inheritance. So we just discuss about all those things here. So we have five types of inheritances: single level inheritance, multi-level inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, multiple inheritance, and hybrid inheritance. So I don't want to simplify this concept as this is a very big concept. I wanted to have a separate session for this. So for now I'm just giving you a brief of inheritance, what are all the different types of inheritance and all. So we'll discuss in detail about in detail about each and every inheritance in our next session. So basically I'll be providing a new session specifically only for the inheritance. Please don't miss that. So this is a sample of inheritance. So if you see here, I have a class A and this is a parent or super class. So inside that I might have some data members and behaviors or member methods inside class A, and I created one more class, class B, and I use this extends keyword, and then I declared the class A here. So now my class B is nothing but a child or a subclass. So once I do this extends with the A, so all the data members and member methods will gets inherited into the class P. So let us discuss polymorphism. So this is also a bigger concept, so I don't want to conclude it so simple. So in this session I'm just going to give you a brief of what is a polymorphism and what are the different types of polymorphisms. So in the next sessions, in the coming sessions, I'm going to create a separate session only for polymorphism. So in that we are going to discuss what is a compile time polymorphism or a static polymorphism, and what is a dynamic or a runtime polymorphism, and how do we achieve this. So and also we'll discuss about what is a method overloading and what is a method overriding, and how do we call these methods. So we all discuss in this in detail in the next session, next coming sessions on the polymorphism. So for now I'm just giving you a very brief on what is a polymorphism is. So as it is already being lengthy, so I just want to conclude so simple here in this session. So polymorphism is nothing but it is the ability of an object to take many forms. In a simple statement, we can also say that one in many forms. And also in other words, we can say that the same action may behave differently depends on the number of inputs, or the inputs that what you pass, or the objects that what you pass. So based on that, the action may be differ. So this is what we call it as polymorphism. So let's say you have a class, in that you have two methods, sum, and there is another method called sum, and the first sum method is taking two inputs or the two arguments, and the second sum method is taking three arguments. So if you are passing two arguments, let's say you have a method call of sum, and if you are passing two inputs, so the first method, the method which is having two arguments, or the method which is taking two inputs, so that method will gets invoked. In the same way, if you are passing three arguments to the sum method, the second method which is taking three inputs, so that method will gets invoked. So this is how the polymorphism will gets implemented. So this is just now what I discussed is a method overloading, and also we'll discuss about method overriding also. Let's say you have defined a same method in the parent class and a subclass, and if you are calling this sum method using the parent class object, so then the parent class sum method will gets invoked. And if you are calling the sum method using the child class object, then the child class sum method will gets invoked. So we have different types of polymorphism. One is a static or a compile time polymorphism, and the second one is dynamic or runtime polymorphism. So let us discuss why do we call this as a static or a compile time polymorphism. So let's say you define two methods, some as we already discussed the same example also earlier. So let's say you have two methods, one is taking two sum methods. So one is taking two inputs, and the second is taking three inputs. So during the compile time, if you are, so let's say you have a method call which is passing two arguments or the two inputs. So in that case, the compile will definitely know that. So this method call is passing two arguments to the sum method. So I should be calling the first method. So it will come to know during the compile time itself only. So it need not to wait till the runtime, right? So this is what we call it as static or a compile time polymorphism. So in the second case, that what we discussed in the method overriding, so which means you define the same method with the same number of arguments and the same prototype in the parent and child classes. And if you are passing and if you are calling the sum method using the parent class object, so then the sum method of parent class will gets invoked. And if you are calling the sum method using the child class object, then the sum method of child class will gets invoked. So this will be known to the JVM during the runtime, because during the runtime only we create the instances for the classes, right? So that is the reason. So till the runtime we never know that which method to call. I mean to say that the JVM doesn't know that which method to call. So during the runtime only it create the instances for those classes, and based on the instance what we are putting in, or based on the instance through which we were calling, so based on that it will decide during the runtime to which method it has to call. So that is the reason we call it as dynamic or runtime polymorphism. Previous session train your brain question is move the 4 matchsticks to form 3 squares, and the answer is here. So this is how you can form 3 squares by moving the 4 matchsticks. And today's session train your brain question is handle of this cup is in which side? So you can see one handle here, right? So and the question is handle of this cup is in which side? If you have any questions in today's session, please write down them in the comment section. I'll pick the top 5 questions which will be useful for everyone, and those gets answered in the next session. If you directly come to this video, here we have the complete playlist. Please go through it. If you haven't liked this video yet, please click on the like button. And if you feel this video is helpful, please share it with your friends and family members. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please subscribe and please click on the bell icon to receive all the notifications. Thank you.